Hey gang, Sean here with Sean and Don Ventures. It's been a bit since we've been back in my shop here, and I'm going to apologize in advance. My shop is a mess. I am in between so many projects, between the van and the truck, and I'm working on a trailer and some other things and I'm out adventuring a lot right now. That I'm not getting my stuff done in a timely manner. Does that happen to anyone else? Because I need to get some stuff done. And fortunately this weekend, I think I'm going to be able to knock some of this stuff out. Anyways, you didn't tune in to hear my woe story about my shop here. You came in to hear my 6-month review on my Alu-Cab canopy camper. So before we get into that, let's talk about what we're going to talk about first in the review. I'm going to talk about setup, what surprised me most about the configuration and why is that, what can my build do without, what did I miss on my build? Because believe it or not, there's some things I did miss on my build. What did I not need, and what's my wife's thoughts on it, because that's really important, especially if you venture with a significant other, right? So what's my wife's thoughts on that? And before we get into all that, so I've gotten this question before, like on the comments, like, why are you called Sean and Don Ventures? And I'm thinking about an Alu-Cab. So our first original vehicle was my truck, but when we started a YouTube channel, we actually bought an adventure van, and just to document, our lifestyle and stuff, just have fun with things. And so that's how we started. And then we decided to convert my truck to an Alu-Cab, and it just got wild after that. My wife and my family and my kids kind of go out almost every other weekend. Especially during the summer and during the winter, my wife and I are always out. We're just adventuring in all kinds of different vehicles. So that's how it happened. And with that, if you're interested, I mean, I would appreciate a like at the very least, right? Comments really help. It's hard for small channels to get noticed on YouTube. It's almost impossible anymore, unless you sell your soul to someone. And, it'd be great if you consider subscribing. Also, don't be an a-hole in the comments. Like my last couple of videos, some people were looking at, well, I wouldn't do that, or I wouldn't do it this way. Well, that's fine. This is a community, right? We're discussing things. You're tuning in to maybe learn something. You don't have to be a jerk in the comments for any reason. No one here is trying to be a jerk. So please don't be a jerk. And if you haven't seen my other video on the build out of my truck, 'cause I'm not going to review it all, I'll post this here for you to look at. So if you kind of want to see how my truck's been built out already with the Alu-Cab setup, you can look at that. So let's talk about what I have done in this 6 months, because I think that's important when you think about adventuring. I got a comment because our first break-in trip was at a campground, which is not what we typically do, but we didn't have anything in the vehicle. And once again, people were like, "You're at a campground." Guys, it was like for 6 hours just to go sleep somewhere to see what we needed to buy. So don't freak out. We haven't been at a campground since. See? So where have we been? We've been all over. So I've been out solo. I've been out with my buddy solo in torrential winds, torrential rain of the Pacific Northwest. We've been up into Canada. We've taken up there and adventured all over Vancouver Island. We just finished the BDR section 1 and 2 last weekend, which was, what is that, 28,000 feet of ascent, 26,500 feet of descent over like 200 dirt trail miles. So, and we've been doing a bunch of other things. So we've got a pretty good list of stuff that we've been doing that really gives us a good understanding of what we think about the van and why we think of that. So let's just talk about setup. So setup of this system is simply amazing. I have the canopy camper. And this is not an exaggeration. If I'm level, I can be set up with the awning out in under 60 seconds. I mean, it's really crazy. We roll right in, and it's like you're recreating all of a sudden. You're like, man, check this out. This is amazing. So setup has been just really kind of a shock to me. Like everyone talked about it, but it's everything everyone talks about, how easy it is. And tear down, same damn thing. I mean, taking it down is amazing. I'll talk about this now. Like one of the features of the Alu-Cab that I didn't know I would appreciate as much as I did they talk about them, and I'm like, huh. Now I really have appreciation. So on the canopy camper, I think even on the rooftop tent, we kind of have this gutter system to where the canvas is in and the lip comes down, right? And that makes teardown just so easy because you don't get material trapped, and it also helps with water, right? So you don't get as much water there. So if you do get home, you don't. Most of the time, I don't have to air out the tent, right? Because it's not wet. So it's just amazing in that fashion. Also, the fact that you can keep all your bedding in there, right? That's the other thing. So I failed to mention, we got 4 pillows and comforter, and I got a ceiling fan. That's a USB ceiling fan up in the storage pockets and all that, and some towels and coats. All of that's sandwiched in there when I close it down. I mean, it's really cool. It's a great thing to have, and I had no regrets. So what surprised me, so I've kind of talked, like, you can tell I kind of like it here. And this isn't going to be a negative video to Alu-Cab at all. So I have really no regrets. I have some lessons learned, which we'll talk about for sure. But I don't really have any regrets. My only regret is, why couldn't I afford this earlier in my life, or why didn't I figure it out earlier? I guess figuring out this lifestyle earlier, that didn't matter what I could afford back then. So that's my only regret. So the 270 awning, the Alu-Cab 270 awning is top notch. Like I said, it's oversized back. It stows so easily. It has that ripstop material. It has a special UV rating, so when you're under it, it's much cooler than if any other awning because the sun's not penetrating as much. But the setup and teardown, and just how good it is. Like, I've been in torrential rain and downpouring in the rainforest. Go figure. So we're camping in March and April in the rainforest, right along rivers and on banks. What do you expect? Torrential rain. And that awning, bulletproof. Wind, such high wind, and then not even putting the leg down. And then if you really high wind, I just put the leg down, pop it up a little bit. Golden. I mean, it is worth it if you're looking for an awning, whether you have an Alu-Cab or not. Man, really consider that awning setup because it's really great. So the other thing that really surprised me, so I have the Dickerson fireplace in there, and that thing is it's awesome. It doesn't take hardly any fuel. So I have the 11-pound propane tank. That's from another project I mentioned, but I have 11-pound propane tank on the back there, and I ran that fireplace same trip where the rainforest, just pouring down rain. And I wanted the inside to be warm, obviously. I ran it during the day, so let's call it 20 hours, right? And I used not even like 10% of my propane. It was crazy. I mean, I have it on low and turn the blower on, but such a good heat dries things out like crazy great. Is that even a way to put the word together? Dries things out so well. Like, we live in the rainforest, and like, you know how that is. If you live in like really damp climates, it's a pain in the butt. And it's just been like fireplace on, dry it out right before I'm closing it down, and the canvas is dry. It's great. Or like if we've been out like recreating in the snow, snowboarding or whatever, we have our winter gear, we could just do that stuff as well. Let's see here. We talked about the bug screen or the gutter system already. The other thing here, and to me, this is a must. The zip down bug screens, which you have to purchase, right? They don't come with it. But why the hell would you not? Seriously, like, this unit is meant to have the awning out, the doors open, and you living outside. I mean, that's how it's really meant to be, right? And let's face it, this time of year, it sucks to be out sometimes in nature because you're getting just tore up. Like the BDR, I mean, we did all the sprays and stuff, but we were getting tore up, big time tore up. And I would just we'd zip up the screens, no big deal. We could sit in there. In fact, what I did, I'll see if I pop a picture in this because I thought it was kind of clever. There's a fold down little latch like this, and some people use it for desk. Inside of it's really cold. It's part, because you have your bed that folds down, and the other half of the thing, it's this half. Bugs were so bad. We were up on Bethel Ridge, and I was like, we got to eat some food. I was like, I'm just going to go in there and make dinner on that thing. And so I sat up there, screens open, doors open. I'm looking right at Mount Adams, and Mount St. Helens is right over there, making food. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Like, awesome. So just the screens, like, you need those screens. You don't skip out on those. You really need those screens. And I know this stuff is expensive, but you really need those screens. The other thing that totally surprised me is the aluminum table that comes out underneath. Sometimes I got to stand on my side rail, yank it out because it fits in there tight. It doesn't rattle at all. But man, it's out of the way, and it's just so easy, and it's quick. It's got gas struts on it, and pop, pop, you're gone. So once again, in that minute time frame, I can't quite get the table on that minute, but I bet you I could be set up in 90 seconds for sure, with plenty of time to spare. So those things I kind of undervalued a little bit, not the awning as much, kind of undervalued that, but really it's not that big a deal. I mean, I undervalued what they would do, but now that I see them in place, I'm just like, wow, you got to do this. So what could I do without my build? I kind of thought about this as I was kind of going through those questions, because people ask me these things like, well, what would you do differently? And I don't really know if there's anything, I would do without. I would do things differently. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But I can't see anything in there that I did wrong. In fact, I needed to buy a couple things afterwards because I did miss some things, and there's a few other things that I'm gonna want to buy, and I'll tell you what those are here in a second as well. By the way, I'm Italian, so I talk a lot with my hands, so it's sorry. So I really can't think of anything there, and I'm always honest. I hate that phrase, if I'm being honest. It's like, aren't you always honest? Because you should be, right? So nothing there. What did I not need to do? Like, that's kind of a good question. And this kind of goes with my overall build. So I have the Alu box style, the Zergis Alu box style boxes. And my original notion for this was to install them on the Prinsu style rack that's on the front. It's like a 1/3 size roof rack, because of the way the Alu-Cab comes up. And my original thought was I was going to put those boxes on there, and I was going to use these clips and secure them on there. So I bought the clips, bought the boxes. The boxes, if you have those, are overpriced, and you realize they're not cheap at all. And first off, there wasn't the right spacing up there to make it happen. So I was actually, one of my projects, I got extruded aluminum so behind the camera, extruded aluminum, that I was going to modify my roof rack a little bit so the boxes could fit on there. And I can zip them in and zip them out. But then I realized two things. I discovered two things. First off, boxes get kind of heavy, and getting up and on there consistently is going to not make sense. Second, I thought the second reason I got those boxes was I wanted them to be convenient and they could be steps into the rig. And well, that means every time I have to take them off my roof rack if I want them to serve for that purpose. And then after I started kind of figuring out how to do things, I realized those boxes fit perfectly right next to each other between my goose gear stuff. So like they're right in the door, and I could just grab them out and go. And so I was like, why am I doing that? And then I learned that Alu-Cab has an Alu box, and it looks just like the front part of the Alu-Cab setup, like wedge, but it's an extension box that goes in that same rack that I was mentioning, and it has a lid that comes up, and I think there's two sizes, and you could store firewood or chainsaw, whatever you want in there, And I found that because I saw another dude in town actually. There's another guy with an Alu-Cab setup here that's in my town, and he's got a badass setup. I mean, it's really good setup. And he has that box, and he had 2 jerry cans. Like you can get an Alu-Cab jerry can set up on that, and I had 2 jerry cans on it. And that's one thing that I've been kind of playing around with. This is a daily driver for me, and don't be mad about that. My commute's 3 miles, so I know it's not a great gas companion. I also drive the van back and forth, but once again, it's 3 miles. So yeah, if I was anything longer than 15 miles, this setup wouldn't be convenient. But anyways, so I was looking at gas and what am I going to do for gas, because it's hard sometimes. Do I have enough, especially if you get if you want to go explore other trails, right? And I don't want to feel limited in that circumstance. And so as we were kind of as I saw his setup, I noticed that he had these jerry cans on the side, and I thought, what the hell am I looking at there? Because I was confused, and it's an Alu-Cab mount for the jerry cans. And so it's a very interesting thing. If you do need storage, I'm not committed on buying it yet. I'll see what kind of adventures we're doing in this setup. If we're going to start doing really long trips, which we might, very well might, then I might kind of pull the trigger on that, but maybe only just for the fuel cans, because I can't find a good fuel option extended fuel option for me with everything else I have on there. There's not a good spot to put rotopacks, and I don't really want the fuel inside. And so if you have something that you know would work, suggest it behind. So anyways, that was kind of kind of off the cuff there, but I definitely wouldn't have. I definitely didn't need those mounts. The other thing that I screwed up on here is I have lots of struts now. I have some struts in my office at work. I have some more struts in. So let me tell you what happened. I decided I was going to put the Expedition Essential Max Track holder, the 4-track board on myself. Why not? I'm pretty handy. I can do that kind of stuff. And so let me do that. But I wasn't aware that I should have. Well, I don't know. You just don't know what you don't know, right? I'm not mad at myself. I wasn't thinking that, well, by doing that, the struts that come with it won't be strong enough to put it up. However, if I would have told them, my mule expedition out there, that was my plan, they could have pre-done those struts for me. And so, unfortunately, the struts are kind of hard to find. And furthermore, I was given the wrong part number by mule. Sorry, guys, you did. And I ordered them, and I couldn't return them. And so I kind of wasted money there. And then after reaching back out again, because we were trying to sort them with a bunch of different strut manufacturers, and no one can kind of figure out the South African the way they kind of measure the gas, and so it wasn't quite clear. That I reached back out to Mule, and they said, "Well, we actually bought this one instead," and those worked. So I got 4 extra struts that I got no purpose for. So that kind of sucked, right? But the other thing that I missed that I wish I would have done, right? What would I have done differently is I want the window. So once again, live in the Pacific Northwest, when we're going to be recreating when it's really crappy weather out. But if you're inside and you have a little window, it just feels better. So I do plan on buying that and putting it on. And it is what it is. It's not really a miss. It's something I was on the fence about, and I was like, well, maybe I would want that, maybe not. So not quite sure, right? Anyway, so moving on now. So let's talk a little bit about how my wife likes it, because that's really important. And keep in mind, we have an adventure van, right? And there are 2 different use cases, right? BDR, Alu-Cab, it's complicated, forest roads, van just fine. Some trails that are wide enough, if you're down in Utah, van probably just fine on most things that I would. I'm here to get out and explore and see things. I'm not here to break my vehicles, by the way. So I'm here to hopefully, but I am also here to be prepared. So I have all the stuff in case something does go wrong, and I try to study things to make sure that I'm prepared, that If I have to if I'm challenged by some sort of circumstance, hopefully I can respond appropriately for whatever that is. So 2 different vehicles that we use there. Dawn loves the Alu-Cab. In fact, she says she thinks the Alu-Cab bed, which is a thin mattress, is actually more comfortable than the van bed. And we said, well, that's because it's obviously a lot longer and you could just really spread out and stuff. But what we did observe is that if it wasn't good weather, it could be challenging for 2 people. And so if this is you, see, once again, we're lucky enough to have the van and the Alu-Cab that we can kind of pick and choose based off, whatever Mother Nature's throwing at us. But we realize that that's not a typical situation for most people. So if this is like your primary rig and you want your significant other to like really enjoy it and you guys be going out all the time, regardless of the season, I would recommend getting the awning walls for the 270 awning. Because here's the reality. When it's raining, if it's pissing out wind, you either both go in and sit down and agree to sit in your truck bed on whatever configuration you have, and we have benches that we could sit on. But it's, that's okay for a little bit, but it's not very comfortable. Or you both agree to get up in bed, right? And lay down, or maybe prop your pillow up. And depending on the weather, that could be kind of miserable, right? Because you might be doing that for 24, 48 hours, depending on what your circumstance is. But if you have the awnings on the outside, you can easily have one other person. Well, you could probably have 6 other people underneath your awning with a nice fire going and those walls on, and be totally fine. You could have that side door open, right? So you have a little bit more visibility in and out of the Alu-Cab setup. And maybe your wife or you are going in and out or going up into bed, right? It works. So I would strongly suggest, depending on where you are at, to consider the walls, right? And they just Velcro on. They have a couple extra poles that you are given that become for the walls specifically, that go on the existing 270. So if you already have a 270 Alu-Cab awning, you can convert it with the walls. No big deal. But that's my biggest thing. Like, if I was gonna, I was kind of thinking, what should other people consider? I know our circumstance is different. I think those walls for those awnings, if you're planning on recreating all year long, and if you have 2 people that are going to be doing it all year long, and if the weather is typically, as I described, high winds or rain that you have to deal with on a constant basis, then I think the walls would make a good sense for you. So that is the 6-month review right now, and I'll have another review in a year from now. There's some other things I'm doing on the truck right now, so I just, after the BDR, I haven't bought armor skid plates on that, and I just bought a full set of aluminum skid plates, so I'm getting ready to put those on. Once again, I don't try to damage my vehicle, but I got some situations where I realized I'd feel a lot more comfortable if I knew there was some armor down there. But with that, once again, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a like, comment below. What would you do if you have any questions? Like, I'm happy to spitball with people and help. Like, you guys need to make an informed decision. Like, this is an expensive purchase. Let's not sugarcoat it, right? So I'm happy to just chat if that helps you make a better decision, and I'm not an expert. I'm just someone that loves to get outside and share my experience, and try to help other people do the exact same thing. So with that, till next time, guys, I hope we see you on the trails. Remember to like and subscribe, because we got a lot of good stuff coming up. Bye, gang. This place is a mess.